Please adhere to YouTube's selected guidelines before viewing the content of this video. I do not encourage or condone any products, actions, or behaviors shown in this video. All videos are produced in a safe, professional, and controlled environment. Please do not attempt to replicate any actions performed during the video. All actions are performed by professionals.
Alrighty, so today I'm going to be smoking and reviewing the American Spirit Black cigarettes, which are the strongest cigarette that American Spirit currently offers. The reason why these cigarettes are so strong is quite simple. It's because they contain, in part, Perique tobacco as a part of the blend of tobacco inside these cigarettes right here. Now, Perique tobacco is a very strong and very unique tasting type of condiment tobacco. Perique is generally only found in pipe tobaccos. However, it is very rarely found in cigarettes as well. And the only cigarettes I know of that contain Perique tobacco are these, the American Spirit Blacks, along with their more mild counterpart, the American Spirit Grays. And due to the strength of Perique tobacco, both these and the American Spirit Grays are much stronger than not, and due to the fact that Perique tobacco is not commonly found in cigarettes around the world, these cigarettes are very unique as well. And in all honesty, they might very well be one of, if not the only, varieties of cigarettes that contain Perique tobacco in the entire world. Pretty cool stuff, to say the least. And to say the least, these are very, very, very unique cigarettes. Now, before I go any further into the video, I do want to acknowledge that I have indeed tried this pack of cigarettes right here before, and I have indeed given this pack of cigarettes right here a review before as well. However, it's been a couple years. And so as such, over the last couple months or so, I've been thinking about revisiting these cigarettes and doing a little bit of an updated review on them. And the reason for that is quite simple. It's because when I first tried these a couple years ago, I ended up enjoying them a decent amount, even though they are a little bit too strong for my personal preference. And since I enjoyed them so much, I figured, since my taste buds have changed just a little bit, and since I've gotten a little bit better at noticing the different intricacies of tobacco, it might be interesting to do a little bit of a re-review. And so as such, that's why I am re-reviewing these cigarettes today. And I am quite excited to do just that, as it's been, I want to say, about 8 months since the last time I had an American Spirit Black. And in the last 8 months, my taste buds have changed even more than they had over the last, 3 years. And so I'm thinking that I might be able to discern a little bit more of the taste of this cigarette than not. And I'm looking forward to finding out what I think of these cigarettes now. I don't know what I was going to say after that, in all honesty. I'm just looking forward to finding out what I think of the cigarettes now, when compared to when I tried them like 3 years ago, I do suppose. But that's why I'm re-reviewing these cigarettes today. But I do suppose before I go any further into the video, I should probably now go ahead and cover what American Spirit as a brand actually is. So what is American Spirit? Well, Natural American Spirit is an additive-free, natural brand of cigarettes that was first introduced in 1982 by the Santa Fe Natural Tobacco Company, which was a company that was set up only to sell American spirits. For the first 10 years of American Spirit's existence as a brand, they remained very niche. However, starting in the mid to late 1990s, American Spirit as a brand started to grow and grow and rise in popularity, helped by the fact that some celebrities got spotted in public smoking this brand. And so as such, American Spirit as a brand caught the interest of a couple different big tobacco companies. And then in 2002, Reynolds, the maker of Camels and Lucky Strikes, decided to purchase American Spirit as a brand for $340 million. And since that point, the brand has absolutely exploded in popularity. Today, American Spirit is by far the largest natural additive-free cigarette brand on the United States market. And they are, just in general, a very, very, very popular brand of cigarettes in the United States. Today in the United States, Natural American Spirits are produced by the Santa Fe Natural Tobacco Company, which is now a subsidiary of Reynolds in North Carolina. And outside the United States, natural American Spirit cigarettes are not actually made by R.J. Reynolds, and that is because R.J. Reynolds sold off the international rights to the brand in 2015 to Japan Tobacco / Japan Tobacco International for $5 billion. 13 years after R.J. Reynolds purchased American Spirit as a brand for $340 million, they then sold just the international rights for $5 billion, which is a crazy good return on investment if I do say so myself. That's more than Microsoft bought Minecraft for. Crazy stuff, I ain't gonna lie, y'all. Crazy stuff, that is for sure. However, within the United States, American Spirits are much more popular than outside the United States. Japan Tobacco, since purchasing American Spirit as a brand, while they have introduced American Spirit to more markets around the world, they are still not nearly as popular around the world today as they are within the United States. I don't think it's too far of a stretch to say that Japan Tobacco has not quite gotten a return on their $5 billion investment quite yet, but hey, only time will tell, that is for sure. That's what American Spirit as a brand is though, but what are my expectations for the American Spirit Black cigarettes? Well, as a whole, taste-wise, I'm thinking I'm gonna get a sort of mildly sweet, creamy, citrusy, fruity sort of taste with a slight undertone of spice. That's very much what I'm expecting taste-wise from these cigarettes right here. No chemical taste, no additive taste, and no paper taste. I'm not expecting any of that sort of stuff from these cigarettes right here, I will admit. I'd have to say, body-wise, I am expecting a smaller than not, but yet still medium-sized body. I'd have to say, airflow-wise, I'm expecting the airflow to be quite constricted. I'd have to say, draw-wise, I'm expecting the draw to be very heavy just due to the constricted airflow, along with the fact that, if I remember correctly, these cigarettes do also have a very small line of perforation on the filter, which might make the draw just a little bit heavier than not. But if I remember correctly, it doesn't really make the draw super airy by any means. Could very well be wrong, though. And I'd have to say, roughness and smoothness-wise, I'm thinking these are going to be right around a 3 out of 4 to 4 out of 4, and strength-wise, I'm thinking these are going to be very much around a 4 out of 4. They are the strongest American Spirit cigarette after all, and they are quite possibly as well the strongest cigarette on the United States market. Excuse me. But those are my expectations for the American Spirit Black cigarettes. Now, without further ado, I do suppose I should probably go ahead and actually start covering the packaging of, well, this pack of cigarettes right here. After go over the packaging, I'm going to go ahead and get the cellophane all off. I'm going to go and let you guys know what the quality of the packaging is like. I'm going to let you guys know what the packaging looks like with the cellophane off, and I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know what the packaging feels like and everything like that. Then after that, I'm going to go ahead and get this pack of cigarettes all opened up. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know what the inside of the pack of cigarettes looks like. Then after that, I'm going to go ahead and pull the foil out, and I'm going to go ahead and... there's a wasp. Okay, he kind of went away from me. I don't like wasps, y'all. Not a fan. What was I saying, though? I think I was saying that after I pull the foil out, I'm going to go ahead and get one of the cigarettes out. Then after that, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know what the cigarettes look like, what they feel like, what the quality of them is like. Then after that, I'm going to go ahead and actually get one of the American Spirit Blacks all lit up, and I'm going to go ahead and actually let you guys know what I think of these cigarettes right here. Then after that, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys my final thoughts on these cigarettes, and I'm going to go ahead and give them a rating as well. First off, though, as said, we got to start with the packaging, which is not too dissimilar from most modern American Spirit packaging today. The main difference really is the black background, and that is a significant difference in my personal opinion. The modern classic American Spirit look that we all know and love today looks fantastic as a whole in my personal opinion, but it looks even better with a black background. I'll be frank, y'all, I'm a sucker for packaging with black background, and I'm a sucker for this packaging as well. I really, really, really do like it. I think aesthetics-wise, it looks fantastic. There's just enough details, yet it's still just simple enough to keep your interest and to just look good in hand, both from a distance and up close, and it just looks fantastic in my personal opinion. Functionality-wise, this is very distinct not only as an American Spirit, both up close and from a distance, but it's also very distinct as an American Spirit Black from a distance as well, just simply due to the black background. this packaging, in my personal opinion, is some of, if not the best, that American Spirit currently has. And I am a huge fan of this packaging, to say the least. I think aesthetics-wise, it looks fantastic. I think functionality-wise, it's fantastic. And honestly, it almost comes across like a piece of art to me. I really, really, really do like this packaging, frankly put. And I don't generally say that I think cigarette packs look like pieces of art. There's a couple packs out there that I really, really, really like the look of. And this is one of them. And I just think it's such a timeless look. It's such a good look. And I'm just a fan of this packaging as a whole, let me tell y'all what. But now with me talking about how much I love this packaging out of the way, let's go ahead and actually now start covering the details of the American Spirit Black packaging. Starting off with the background itself, which we can see is a very, very, very dark black background. There's no sort of color change anywhere on the packaging or anything like that kind of thing. It's just very much a more basic than not black background, but that's a good thing in my personal opinion. I think them having a sort of nighttime sort of black background really does help exemplify all of the other details very well, especially since a lot of the other details contain silver and red, which really just pops on the black background. But, you know, the background itself, a little bit more basic than not. Taking a look at the cigarette lid itself, we can see there's the classic American Spirit Thunderbird design right here, all in a gray, I definitely have to say. I'm not seeing any sort of drop shadow or anything like that, but I do see some very slight highlights on the upper levels of some of the middle parts right here. Like, it's gray, but some of the sort of like pixels, I'm not sure what the right way of putting it is. I guess pixels is not really the right way of describing it, but this is real life, so real life, we don't really have pixels now, do we? But some of the very small borders of the center of the Thunderbird design right there do indeed have some very, very, very small white highlights. I don't think it really makes the design itself pop all that much more just because the highlights are that small, but they do look pretty dang good when you're looking at it up close, I will admit. As a whole, it's just very much that of a simplified, sort of slightly geometric, slightly sort of rustic, I think is really the right way of describing it, sort of Thunderbird design. Not a bad design by any means, and it's very much the same exact Thunderbird design that we see on pretty much all other American Spirit cigarettes, except for a couple. And I definitely have to say, looks pretty good as a whole. Moving on, well, besides just a couple, well, we do see the Thunderbird design on all packs. It's just not in this area of the packaging on all packs, I do want to acknowledge, of American Spirits, that is. But more so than not, a rustic good look in my personal opinion. Without further ado, now let's go ahead and move on to the actual Natural American Spirit logo itself right here in the center of the packaging. We can see the natural text itself right there is all in red, and it does have some white highlights once again, which looks pretty nice if I do say so myself. And it just says natural right there, which definitely does pop pretty well on the black background. Moving on below that, we can see the American Spirit text right there is just all in silver, and then there's sort of a red inlay in the silver. And interestingly enough, I'd have to say that there is actually a slightly darker silver border going around the silver in the center. So there's like a sort of light silver going around the red inserts itself, and then around that sort of like light silver, there's a slightly darker silver, which definitely makes the American Spirit text right here pop just a little bit more. Not a bad look by any means, and definitely a more design heavy, a more intricate look than not. And the more I look at it, the more I notice it's not really prevalent on the American text right here, but it's pretty prevalent on the Spirit text. And on the Spirit text, there is actually just a little bit of dark silver going around the red insert as well. So it's like red insert, then dark silver, then light silver, then dark silver again. Interesting. You don't see that on this text, but you do see it on the Spirit text right there. Very, very, very cool. Moving on under the Natural American Spirit text itself right there, we can see there is a little bit of a design right here. We can see there's a sun or some sort of red circle right here bordered in silver. And just like the text right here, the silver border does indeed have a light silver sort of center on the... No. It's got some darker gray and it's got some lighter gray as well, but it's not just interesting. So it's just like light silver up here, and then it goes to a little bit of like a darker gray as it kind of gets deeper in the sun or something like that kind of thing. And then, but the center is still a light silver, and then there's a little bit of a dark silver, like a darker, more dull silver background going, or not background, border, get more words all jumbled up, going around that entire design. Very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. I don't feel like I've ever noticed that on any other American Spirit packaging before. Maybe I've just missed it, but interesting to say the least. Above, I guess saying above is really the right way of putting it. Above the sort of red circle / sun design right here, we can see there is a Native American wearing a crown of feathers that is kind of slightly covered up by the barcode right here. The design does stretch around a little bit more so than not, but not amazingly, because it does get covered up by the barcode, but that is what it is. But we can see this character right here is all in black, and he's smoking a pipe. The tip of the pipe is black, and then the rest of it is white, with the feather itself being white right here as well. And his crown of feathers is all white, with black details. And his crown of feathers also has a black border going around it. And I think there's only one more thing left to cover about the front of the packaging, and that is this text right here. And it's just a very simple white text, and it just says tobacco ingredients, tobacco and water. And that's all there is to it. That's all there is to the front of this packaging. As a whole, more simple look than not when you're just looking at it, but if you really look up close, there's a decent amount of stuff going on, I definitely have to say. Like, when you're looking between the R right there, you can actually see the gray kind of pops up just a little bit more so that it doesn't go to black, it just kind of goes to gray. And I think it looks really good, because if it had a sort of just like one tiny little black circle right there, it'd kind of throw you off just a little bit. But no, they kept it gray. I think as a whole, the front of this packaging looks pretty dang good, if I do say so myself. And to say the least, I like this packaging. I do. I am a sucker for this packaging. It is pretty good packaging. I ain't gonna lie, y'all. Well, without further ado, let's go ahead and move on from the front of the packaging to the back of the packaging, which is very much an informational piece of packaging. And we can see the natural American Spirit sort of text right there, just miniaturized for the back of the packaging, whereas it's pretty big on the front of the packaging. Then we could see the American Spirit design right here with the full crown of feathers and whatnot. And that is the full design that we saw on the back, or not, this is the back of the packaging, on the front of the packaging, but the front of the packaging, the design kind of gets cut off just a little bit, but on the back of the packaging, we actually see the full design. Then under this text right here, we can just see it just says real, simple, different, just like that. This overall design right here is pretty much the exact same as we see on the front of the packaging, just smaller because they've kind of got it aligned just a little bit differently on the back of the packaging. Moving on below, all of this stuff right here, we can just see it just says in white, a distinct taste experience. And then under that, it just says our black style offers a very unique taste experience complemented by Perique tobacco. Oh my God, what the hell? There's a bug flying near me. What was I saying though? It just says, our black style offers a very unique taste experience complemented by Perique tobacco blend, I'm getting more jumbled up. Our black style offers a very unique taste experience complemented by a Perique tobacco blend that's been aged in oak barrels. Specifically in like, if I remember correctly, it's like whiskey or bourbon oak barrels. Grown on American soil, this blend is crafted with earth-friendly whole leaf tobacco and water for a rich and robust taste. And then under that, it just says americanspirit.com, and then under that, it just says made in our zero waste to landfill facility. And then under that, there is a little bit of a silver line, and then it just says tobacco ingredients, tobacco and water right there. And then there's another silver line interrupted by the Thunderbird design right there, all in silver. And then there's another silver line. And then below that, it just says in white, U.S. grown tobacco. And then under that, it just says rich, robust taste. And their rich, robust taste text basically just means, hey, this is our strongest cigarette. They've got like American Spirit has like different sort of metrics for saying, okay, these cigarettes are heavy, these cigarettes are light. Rich, robust taste is the heaviest cigarette, and then they just have, I think, rich taste, and then after that it's like full body taste, and then after that it's like balanced taste or something like that kind of thing. I can't remember. They have a whole line of different tastes that basically are just, okay, this is a really heavy cigarette, this is not a heavy cigarette kind of thing. That's basically what that text means. Now, the back of the packaging is pretty much just informational. It's basically just letting you know what this stuff is right here. It's letting us know that the tobacco in this pack is U.S. grown, only U.S. grown, just like the American Spirit Tans and just like the American Spirit Blues as well, and the American Spirit Turquoises. Those are organic U.S. grown tobacco, with the American Spirit Blues being non-organic U.S. grown tobacco and the American Spirit Tans being non-organic U.S. grown tobacco. So, yep, only U.S. grown tobacco, rich, robust taste, and it's also letting us know that this blend contains Perique tobacco. Perique tobacco is indeed aged in oak barrels, if I remember correctly, and those oak barrels were previously used for like bourbon or whiskey or something like that, if I remember correctly, and they're basically stored under pressure for like around about a year, which basically just ferments the tobacco to an insane degree, makes it really, really, really strong, gives it a very interesting taste, and just gives it a very interesting hit as a whole, I definitely have to say, and makes it a very interesting and unique tobacco. However, if I remember correctly, I could very well be wrong. But I feel like remembering that American Spirit Black Packs used to say that it was Perique grown and made in St. James Parish in Louisiana. Now, that's where Perique tobacco came from. It doesn't say that on the back of the pack anymore, so I could be misremembering. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to take a look at some older packs of American Spirit Blacks that I've got. I forgot to do that before this video. But I do wonder if they're now no longer using Perique tobacco that's grown and made in St. James Parish, Louisiana, just because it's gotten a little bit too expensive. They do make Perique tobacco elsewhere in the world. It's just that St. James Parish in Louisiana is where it originally came from, and it's where a lot of places still like to get their Perique tobacco from for pipe tobacco blends and whatnot. But of course, Perique, it's not like champagne from France and stuff. All wine from Champagne is called champagne kind of thing. It doesn't have to be called, it can't only be called Perique tobacco because it's from the St. James Parish in Louisiana. Perique tobacco is made with a process that's called Perique, if I remember correctly at least. So, yeah. But it doesn't say made in or grown in St. James Parish. I do feel like it used to say that. I could be wrong. Yeah. But that's pretty much all there is to the back of the packaging. Moving on to this side of the packaging, we can see it just says at the very top right there in white, 20 Class A cigarettes. And then under that, there's a white line, and it just says copyright SFNTC, which stands for the Santa Fe Natural Tobacco Company. One thing y'all will notice is that it does not say R.J. Reynolds anywhere on the packaging. They don't like to advertise the fact that Santa Fe Natural Tobacco Company is a subsidiary of R.J. Reynolds. They don't like to advertise that fact one bit. It just says, call us with questions, 1-800-332-5595. Then under that, it just says SFNTC. And then under that, it just says Tobaccoville, North Carolina. Yeah, that's right. These cigarettes are made in Tobaccoville. Love that. And then under that, it just says the zip code 27050. And then under that, it just says sfntc.com. And then to the side of that, there's just the barcode right there, which does cover up a little bit of design right there. And then under that, we could just see, of course, these cigarettes are indeed FSC compliant. And to the side of that, it just says Natural American Spirit cigarettes are not safer than other cigarettes, which all American Spirit packs display. All American Spirit packs do display that text, if I remember correctly, just because they lost a lawsuit in the early 2000s. And it also just says PEFC right there, which I don't know what that means in all honesty. I think it's some sort of sustainability thing. Moving on to the other side of the package, it just has the Surgeon General warning on this side, all in white on that black background. And it just says, Surgeon General warning, smoking causes lung cancer, heart disease, emphysema, and may complicate pregnancy. Well, those are like all the reasons why I smoke cigarettes. So this is more of an advertisement than anything. I don't know why they put advertisements on the side of the pack, but they do nonetheless. Really weird in all honesty. With the public perception of cigarettes these days, I wouldn't think they'd be advertising cigarettes like that. But I mean, like, hey, they do. They do. Odd stuff, you know what I'm saying? Moving on from this side of the pack to the top of the pack, we can just see it just says Natural American Spirit right there. And it just has the design right there. And then to the side of that, it just says black right there. And this is the second place on the entire packaging where it actually says that these are the American Spirit Blacks, if I remember correct. It says it on the back of the packaging, says it on the top, and then of course the background is black as well, but it doesn't actually say that this is the black variety of American Spirits, but 2 times on the packaging, which is very interesting if I do say so myself. The design on the top of the packaging is just very much that of a miniaturized version of the front of the packaging, and a slightly more miniaturized version of the back of the design on the back of the packaging as well. Really not much going on, in all honesty, and just says black right there. Yep, not too much going on, but just lets us know that this is indeed an American Spirit cigarette, and it lets us know that this is the American Spirit Black, so it is more helpful packaging than not. Moving on to the bottom of the packaging, we can see it's even more simplified this time, just because there's some numbers to the side. Just once again, it just says Natural American Spirit right there, in the exact same way it says it on the front, back, top of the packaging and whatnot. Just there's no design like this one right here on the bottom of the packaging. To the side of this text right here, we can see there are some numbers right there, which just read 6CL2HC2. Now, if I remember correctly, American Spirits use the exact same date code as all other RJ Reynolds products. And to read RJ Reynolds date codes, you need to take the 3rd and 4th character. And so the 3rd character is an L, and that represents the month of the year that the pack of cigarettes was produced in. So L is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. So that would be December of, and then the 2 represents the last digit of the year that this pack of cigarettes was produced in. So this pack of cigarettes was produced in December of 2022, making them actually a little bit over a year old now, which is a little bit surprising, frankly put. But yeah, December of 2022, that's when this pack of cigarettes was made. Supposedly, at least, they're not the most, the date code is not the most reliable to date cigarettes with, frankly put, but it works to an extent. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get the cellophane all off. And let's go ahead and cover what the... Ooh, smell much better right off the bat as well. Let's go ahead and cover what the quality of packaging is like. And I'd have to say the quality of the packaging as a whole, I mean, like, it's nothing really above average, but, you know, it's pretty dang good quality packaging. I mean, like, there's just, like, a little area down here I can kind of catch my finger on and whatnot kind of thing. But, I mean, like, overall, very good quality packaging, if I do say so myself. Nothing exorbitantly better than normal cigarette pack packaging by any means, but pretty good quality packaging by all means as well. Of course, as with 99.9% of all cigarette packs, this pack does indeed look so much better with the cellophane off, and we can see the silver on this cigarette pack is a little bit reflective as well, which is pretty nice. And the overall texture of this cigarette pack is just very much that of a printed paperboard texture, as all American Spirit packs tend to have. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to the packaging with the cellophane off. Let's go ahead and now get this pack of cigarettes all opened up. And let's take a look at the inside of the pack. We can see it just says recycle this pack, all in white right up there. Or please recycle this pack, actually. It says please. You know, I might just have to do that. Just kidding. I'm keeping this for my collection. We can see the cigarette insert itself right here. Very simple, nothing much going on. It's just like a slightly yellowed, not quite pure white sort of insert, I definitely have to say. And then we can see the foil itself right here is not actually foil, it's actually paper. On the top of the paper, it says, please don't litter, right there. I don't know how well y'all can see that, but it does indeed say, please don't litter, right there. And then on the front, we just get the American Spirit Thunderbird design right there, just a miniaturized version of the Thunderbird design we see on the front of the packaging itself. And the overall texture of this paper is paper, frankly put. It's like glossy, sort of almost like wax paper, I definitely have to say. Let's go and see how easily it pulls out. Pulls out a little bit toughly. Pulled out a little bit more cleanly than not, but not perfectly by any means. I can't complain too much. It was better than not. Sometimes American Spirit pullouts for the foil, sometimes they're not the greatest, but that one was not too bad. Well, let's go ahead and, I think first off, I'm actually going to take a little bit of a sip of water, and then after that, I'm going to go ahead and get one of the cigarettes out. I got to take a little bit of a sip of water. I haven't had a sip of water in the last just about 30 minutes. And I think the first thing I want to do is I think I want to smell this cigarette. And then after that, I'm going to go ahead and cover what it looks like, what it feels like, quality of it is like, blend is like, everything like that. First off, though, as I said, let's go ahead and smell this cigarette. And the smell of this cigarette is definitely very unique when compared to other American Spirits, although not as unique as it used to be. There are other American Spirits on the, there's another American Spirit on the market these days, which does have a little bit of a fruity smell and taste to it. And I definitely have to say that these have more of a fruity, citrusy smell to them than not as well. So it's not as unique as it used to be, but still more unique than not. I'm gonna go and grab another one out, just grab a fresh smell. Not the most intense smell either by any means. Yeah, definitely a surprisingly mild smell. Yeah, definitely much more mild of a smell than not. Now, I did find one source saying that American spirits use a 1-to-5 ratio of Perique. I personally doubt that. They didn't list any sources saying that. There was just somebody saying that. I personally doubt that. I will admit. Just simply because I don't see any very dark bits of tobacco on the end of the cigarette, frankly put. But the taste, not the taste, the smell I'm getting as a whole right now is so mild it's honestly kind of hard to discern, which is surprising for such a strong cigarette. You'd think it would have a very strong smell as well, but no, not really. I'm gonna go ahead and actually get another one out. I don't usually get more than 2 cigarettes out to smell, but I'm doing that today. So I'd have to say the smell as a whole is very much that of a grassy, sort of lemon-like, at the same time fruity, citrusy smell, with a decent amount of sweetness in there as well, coming from both the citrusy, fruity, and from the lemon. Yeah, I'd have to say it's very much that of a sort of hay-like, lemon-like, fruity, citrusy taste, with really no spice in the smell at all, I definitely have to say. I'm not sure what the actual blend of this cigarette is like. I'm not sure. Of course, it contains Perique tobacco. I do know that for a fact. But I don't know what the rest of the tobacco in the cigarette is. It does more so than not smell like a Virginia Perique blend of pipe tobacco, somewhat. Not quite as intense smelling as a Virginia Perique blend of pipe tobacco, but similarity-wise, it smells more like that than not. Yeah, it's sort of a citrusy, sort of sweet, lemon-like, yet fruity, sort of tobacco scent as a whole. Smells really dang good, if I do say so myself. And maybe there's a little bit of honey in there as well. Maybe just the tiniest bit, but not much by any means. And that's very much what the smell of this cigarette is like. Let's go ahead and now cover what this cigarette actually looks like. And we can see it looks very basic. It doesn't look particularly special or anything like that kind of thing. It's just got a cork-style filter, a gold line at the end of the cork-style filter, and then it just has the American Spirit Thunderbird right there. And it's basically just the exact same look as pretty much all other American Spirit cigarettes. I smoked half of an American Spirit Red before this video, and we can see it has quite literally the exact same look, quite literally the exact same size filter, the exact same look as a whole. Yep, it is the exact same look, if I do say so myself. You know, just cork style filter, gold line at the end of it, and then it just has the Thunderbird right there. Nothing too special going on. But then, of course, it just goes to white paper under that. Taking a look at the filter, is there a line of perforation? There is a line of perforation, but the line of perforation, when compared to the American Spirit Reds, it's much smaller. It's a very, very, very small line of perforation. There are a decent amount of dots, don't get me wrong. There's a decent amount of lines of dots of perforation, but it's not anything to any extreme degree. I think it's just going to make the draw just a little bit heavier than not, and maybe slightly airy just to smooth it out just a little bit as well, though it could very well make it a little bit rougher. Sometimes perforation can do that, and yeah. There is a line of perforation on this filter, but it's nothing to any extreme degree by any means. Taking a look at the blend of the tobacco, we can see it's very much that of a medium blended tobacco in my personal opinion. There's a decent amount of light aspects. There's also a decent amount of dark aspects, but nothing is quite completely super dark, as you would expect a little bit from Perique tobacco. But nothing too dark. I could very well be mistaken. I don't know too much about Perique tobacco. I do want to acknowledge I'm not an expert in it by any means. But you would maybe think that there would be some darker aspects. I do see one or two really dark pieces of tobacco, and that's probably Perique. But most of it is very much sort of a mildly light tobacco, I definitely have to say. But as a whole, very much a medium blend of tobacco in my personal opinion. Let's see if I can just really show you guys that very well. It's kind of a little bit difficult in all honesty. I'm trying to figure out how to. I'm not really sure how to in all honesty. You know, very much a medium blend of tobacco in my personal opinion. And I think that's pretty much all there is to say about the cigarette. The quality as a whole is pretty good, as pretty much all American spirits are. And yeah, I think that's all there is to it. So I do suppose without further ado, I should probably go ahead and get this cigarette right here, all it up. And I should probably go ahead and actually get to smoking an American Spirit Black for the first time in like the last 8 months. And I should probably go ahead and get started with my smoking portion of this review. I think first off, I am going to take a little bit of a sip of water. The American Spirit Blacks, I am expecting them to be harsher than not to say the least. So I want a little bit of a sip of water before I get to smoking, so I don't need any while I'm smoking. And now that I've had a little bit of a sip of water, I'm just gonna get my sunnies on. Let's get my lighter out of my pocket. And now, without further ado, let's go ahead and get one of my American Spirit Black cigarettes all lit up. And let's go ahead and find out just how good or just how bad these cigarettes actually are. And let's find out how I think these cigarettes have changed over the last couple years or so. Not actually changed, like I don't think the cigarettes, I don't think the cigarettes themselves have actually changed, but I do think that my taste buds have changed. So I'm curious to find out what I think of the taste of them is like, what I think the taste of them is like is now when compared to, well, a couple years ago / like 8 months ago. Well, without further ado, let's go ahead and get this cigarette all lit up, and let's go ahead and get to smoking. Yes, sir, you know what I'm saying. Hopefully that will do for the screenshot. Right off the bat, much harsher than not. Very harsh if I do say so myself. And the taste is very much that of a very unique, fruity, citrusy, slightly hay-like taste. A little bit of nuttiness in there as well. A little bit of cream in there as well. And then there's a little bit of spice in there as well. And I think that spice is really coming from the Perique. That's just my initial thoughts on the taste. I'm really going to have to let you all know as I continue smoking, frankly, because there's a lot going on. The American Spirit Reds, which also have a fruity taste to them, it's definitely not as interesting of a fruity taste as the American Spirit Black, so I can say right off the bat. It's a very good fruity taste, interesting enough to keep you interested, but not quite as interesting as the American Spirit Blacks. Let's go and test the body real quick. Body, surprisingly big, not insanely huge by any means, but definitely a little bit bigger than I thought it was going to be. But more so than not, a medium-sized body, but a very dense medium-sized body, especially since these cigarettes do indeed have lines of perforation on the filter. Definitely not very airy body, and very dense body as a whole. So I definitely have to say I think the perforation is really to just make the draw just a little bit heavier and probably to smooth out the cigarette a little bit as well. There is definitely a little bit of spice in there, just the tiniest bit of spice, which I think is coming from the Perique. Really nice, very unique for sure. And I'd have to say strength-wise, right off the bat, I can definitely tell I'm already feeling a little bit of a buzz. These are strong cigarettes, I will admit. I'm not sure if they're quite a 4 out of 4 quite yet, but definitely stronger than not. The airflow of this cigarette, quite constricted as a whole. And draw-wise, very heavy draw as well. Very, very, very heavy draw as well. Roughness and smoothness-wise, I'd have to say these are not just a 3 out of 4, though. These are more like a 4 out of 4. Just smoking this cigarette, it's ripping my throat apart, frankly put. I am not used to cigarettes that are this harsh. It is a very, very, very rough cigarette. Definitely one of the roughest cigarettes on the United States market, even rougher than some unfiltered cigarettes, frankly put. It's very much a 4 out of 4 roughness and smoothness-wise, in my personal opinion. And as a whole, as said, the airflow, quite constricted. The draw is quite heavy, both due to the perforation and the constricted airflow. And the body is pretty decent as a whole, I definitely have to say, which is surprising. Let's go ahead and see if I can really determine what the taste really is like, though. So I didn't inhale that hit. I just kind of puffed it like I would with a pipe tobacco. And the taste I got on that hit was very much that of a very nice, very sweet. Not as sweet as some other cigarettes, but still very sweet. Very citrusy, sweet, fruity, almost honey-like sort of tobacco taste with a very slight undertone of a sort of creamy hay, I want to say. And then there's a little bit of spice under there as well. I feel like I'm not quite describing it quite properly. I'm going to give myself another moment. Let's go and test the body one more time. Body, a little bit more airy, but I also took a smaller hit. And a little bit smaller as well, but still not badly sized, and still a much more medium-sized body than not, I definitely have to say. Definitely unique tasting cigarette for sure, but it's not a vapor blended tobacco. It's not a Virginia Perique blended tobacco by any means. Or no, it is a Virginia Perique blended tobacco, but it doesn't quite taste like a Virginia Perique blend of pipe tobacco. It's not quite. Granted, I haven't tried a lot of Virginia Perique blends of pipe tobacco, don't get me wrong, but it's not quite there. But it's the closest you can probably get in cigarette form to pipe tobacco in the United States. Okay, maybe not the closest, but very close. It's one of the closest. It's probably tied. There's a lot going on for a cigarette, though. And the taste also changes just a little bit as you continue smoking. It's kind of difficult to really determine what the for sure taste is. I'm going to try, though. I am really glad I'm giving these a re-review, though. My taste buds, when I first reviewed these, had no clue what they were doing. My taste buds now, a little bit better than not. Excuse me. I know it was good when I first tried it, but it's definitely better now. A little bit of tongue bite as well, which is odd from a cigarette. You don't normally get tongue bite from a cigarette, which makes me think that these are a more heavy Virginia blend than not. And just with the citrusy taste as a whole, I definitely think that this is a heavy Virginia blend. I'm not sure whether this is a Virginia Perique blend of pipe tobacco, or if there's a little bit of burley in there as well to kind of smooth it out. I wouldn't be surprised if there was. But it does taste much more like a Virginia Perique blend than not. I think I'm going to go ahead and stuff this out on the ground now. And I'm just going to think about what the taste is actually like just for a moment. There's so much going on, it's kind of hard to really say. But I think I've almost got it. And I can definitely say as well, the cigarette is a 4 out of 4. I am feeling very buzzed right now. It's a 4 out of 4. It is by far the strongest American Spirit. It is a very strong cigarette, and it might very well be the strongest cigarette on the United States market as well. It's strong. But the taste from the American Spirit Blacks as a whole is very much that of a very nice, sweet, citrusy, almost lemon-like, yet at the same time, fruity taste. So it's gonna just kind of speak my way through my thoughts. So it's very much that of a sort of, yeah, citrusy, tangy, sweet, lemon-like, yet at the same time sort of fruity, almost like an apple, sort of citrusy taste, with that's what the main taste is. And then under that, there's the tiniest bit. It's almost indiscernible. But I really am confident in saying that there is a little bit of a hay-like taste as well. That combines really well with the sort of citrusy taste. And then under that, there's a very slight sort of fruity, spicy taste. I definitely have to say, like, not quite like almost a peppery taste, but not quite. It's just sort of spicy. And that's very much what the taste is like right off the bat. And honestly, I am not doing the taste justice with this description because there's so much going on. There is a lot going on, frankly put. There's a lot more going on than in many cigarettes on the United States market. It's definitely, there's not quite as much depth as like a Perique, a blend of pipe tobacco that has Perique in it. There's not quite as much depth. Even when you're looking at like more basic, like Virginia Perique or just like Perique blends of pipe tobacco, there's not quite as much depth to the taste when compared to some of those. But for a cigarette, there is so much depth to the taste that is wild. And you can definitely tell the Perique bumps up the strength of the cigarette a notch. That is for sure. I don't know if there's any burley in there. I didn't really get any sort of a nutty taste when I was smoking. I'm tempted to have another. I'm tempted to have another one. Because I feel like there's more to say. I feel like there is more to say. Yeah. Oh, there's a wasp. Or no, not a wasp, a bee. I'm gonna take a sip of water though. Is there really more to say? I'm trying to think. Do I really want to commit to having another? I'm already quite buzzed right now. You know what? I think I'm gonna have another. I think I'm gonna have another American Spirit Black. Yeah, I think I will. Well, let's go ahead and get my second cigarette of the video all lit up. And let's go ahead and get back to smoking one of these cigarettes right here. And I think this cigarette, I'm really just gonna focus on the taste. I've already covered everything else. I really just wanna focus on the taste now. So let's go ahead and get another one of these cigarettes all lit up and let's go ahead and get back to smoking. Yes, sir, yes, sir, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, very fruity, apple-like taste. Yeah, like almost like a sort of fruity, citrusy apple-like taste with a lot of sweetness in there. Very citrusy, sweet, tangy, apple-y taste. A little bit of lemon in there as well. There's definitely a little bit of hay in there as well. It's really only discernible when you're retrohaling though. It's really not discernible when you're inhaling and exhaling normally. When you're retrohaling though, there's definitely a little bit of a hay-like taste. And I feel like there's something else going on as well. Of course, there's that spicy taste as well, which is very much coming from that sort of apple-like fruity taste, and it's sort of an apple-like sort of spicy taste kind of thing. And when you don't inhale, the taste you get is so close to that of like a Virginia Perique pipe tobacco. It's so close. This really is almost, it's very close to being pipe tobacco quality in a cigarette. I don't say that a lot about a lot of cigarettes. There's only a handful of cigarettes that I think are almost, if not, pipe tobacco quality. My favorite cigarette of all time is pipe tobacco quality in my personal opinion. The Piece, my favorite cigarette of all time, is pipe tobacco quality. And this is another one of those pipe tobacco quality cigarettes, because when you don't inhale, you get a taste with so much depth that it's just wild. And yeah, when you don't inhale, you just get so much more depth of the taste. The sweetness comes through insanely intensely. The spiciness is a little bit more mild and a little bit more, but at the same time, a little bit more discernible as having its own unique taste. And the spiciness is that of sort of a almost brown sugar molasses, sort of citrusy, fruity sort of spiciness. And the taste, the sweetness is that of a sort of honey-like, almost honey-like sweetness, with a little bit of sort of brown sugar molasses in there as well. Yeah, a little bit of hay-like taste in there as well. It's very, it's not potent at all, but there is a little bit in there. So the taste I'm getting right now is very much that of a very nice, sweet, citrusy, tangy, lemon-like, citrusy taste with a little bit of a sort of fruity, almost apple-like taste in there, with the sweetness very much coming from like a honey taste, with the sweetness coming from almost like a honey taste, and a little bit of a sort of brown sugar molasses taste as well. And then there's also a hay-like taste in there, and then there's also a little bit of something else. There's also that spicy taste, of course, as well, as previously mentioned, and that's sort of a distinctly brown sugar molasses sort of apple-y sort of taste. Like, try to imagine like a brown sugar, like molasses, sort of like candied apple or something like that kind of thing. That's almost how it is, except it's spicy. And then I feel like there's something else in there. I hit my tripod by accident. I'm not quite confident that this is actually a straight Virginia Perique blend of pipe tobacco. I feel like there's a little bit of burley in there as well. I do feel like there's the very slightest bit of a sort of creamy, nutty taste. A little bit buttery, more sweet than nut, but more savory than anything. I do want to say that this is a Virginia Burley Perique blend of cigarette tobacco. I do want to say. I want to say the main component is Virginia, and then I want to say there's probably, if I had to guess, it's probably 3 parts Virginia, 1 part Burley, 1 part Perique. But that sort of nutty taste could also be coming from the Perique, because Perique is a Burley derivative. Perique tobacco is made from Burley tobacco, so it could be very well coming from that. But I do feel like there's some actual real Perique in there as well. Or not Perique, sorry, Burley in there as well. Not Perique. There is Perique in there, but yeah, I do feel like there's also some Burley in there as well. So I feel like this is a Virginia Burley Perique blend of pipe tobacco 3 parts Virginia, 1 part Burley, 1 part Perique. That's kind of what I feel like, at least. But when you're just inhaling and exhaling normally, the taste, it's there's a lot less depth to the taste, frankly put. To really get the pure, full taste of the cigarette, you really do have to not inhale. You really have to let the smoke marinate in your mouth for just a moment. And definitely mouth-to-lung inhales definitely do help with the taste, with discerning the taste a little bit more so than not as well, along with retrohaling. If you really want to get the pure taste from the cigarette, though, it's a cigarette, so you're supposed to inhale, right? But don't inhale. That's how you're going to get the most taste out of the cigarette. I mean, like, that's how you're going to get the most taste out of most cigarettes, frankly put. But this taste is so interesting where it's kind of like, wow, it's so strong as well where you literally can still get a buzz without inhaling. That's just how strong it is. Yeah, I do feel like there's a very slight taste of nuttiness in there. Very slight taste. All right, I think I have a good idea of what the taste is like. I think I do. Very interesting taste. I really like the taste. I don't say this about many cigarettes, but man, people age pipe tobacco. I think this stuff would be really good age too. And maybe that's part of the reason why I'm getting such a distinctly sort of fruity taste. Maybe it's because the pack is over a year old. Maybe it started fermenting just a little bit in the pack. There was a little bit of a nicotine stain on the first cigarette I smoked, so maybe it has started fermenting just a little bit. Virginia tobacco does ferment over time, and it does get sweeter over time. So maybe that's why the sweetness is so intense. Maybe it's just because the pack is not brand new. Could be an interesting thing to try to find a brand new pack of American Spirit Blacks and see what the taste is like compared to this one. Interesting. Well, I think I've only got one more hit left, so let's go ahead and take that last hit, and I'm going to make sure to inhale that last hit as well. And then after that, let's go ahead and talk about my final thoughts on the American Spirit Blacks and what my rating for them is. I'm going to go ahead and stub this out on the ground, though. And I'm going to go ahead and put it next to my other cigarette butt so I don't lose it. Oh, it's still burning. Make sure that's all out. Got to make sure I'm not causing any forest fires or anything like that. And I will be throwing away both my cigarette butts after this video. I got to make sure I'm not littering, of course. But, before I go ahead and cover my final thoughts on the cigarette, let's go and summarize my thoughts. So taste-wise, not even going to summarize my thoughts on the packaging. The packaging, y'all already know my thoughts on the packaging. I love it. But taste-wise, the taste was very much that of a very distinctly sweet, citrusy, lemon-like, tangy taste with an undertone of a sort of almost apple-like, fruity, sweet, tangy taste as well. So lemon and apple with a very slight undertone of hay. And then below that, there's a very slight undertone of a sort of creamy, nutty taste, I definitely have to say. And the sweetness of the citrusy taste is very much that of a sort of honey-like taste. But then there's also that spicy taste, which is very much coming from that sort of apple-y taste, which makes me think it's coming from the Perique. And that taste is less so honey-like sweetness. It's more so a sort of molasses brown sugar sweetness. So as a whole, the taste of the American Spirit Blacks is very much that of a sweet, tangy, honey-like, citrusy, lemon taste with an undertone of a sort of molasses brown sugar, apple, sweet, tangy, citrusy taste, with an undertone of hay, with an undertone of sort of nut, and with an undertone of sort of a buttery sort of nut taste. And then under that, there's that little bit of spicy sort of apple-y taste coming from the Perique, which has that sort of brown sugar molasses taste to it. And the brown sugar molasses taste is really what's making the spiciness so spicy in my personal opinion. The apple for the spicy taste is very much the undertone. And that's very much what the taste is like as a whole. That's my summary of the taste. Whew, took me a bit longer to summarize the taste than I wanted, but I can't complain. I'm just glad to have the taste summarized. That's an amazing taste. One of the best tasting cigarettes I've ever had. Amazing. One of the best tasting, yeah, seriously, great. I'd have to say there's just an insane level of depth of taste. It has so much depth of taste, it's crazy. When you're just inhaling normally, you don't get that taste. You don't get that much depth of taste. But when you're just puffing on it like a pipe tobacco, you really, really, really do. The airflow, constricted, as all American spirits are. The draw, heavy, as all American spirits are. But even though there's a line of perforation, it's not particularly airy by any means. I'd have to say roughness, smoothness wise, very much a 4 out of 4, and strength wise, very much a 4 out of 4 as well. Very strong, very rough cigarettes. As a whole, now that I've summarized kind of the smoking experience of the American Spirit Blacks, let's go ahead and talk about what my actual final thoughts are. Would I buy a pack of these cigarettes again? Well, I think it goes without saying that yes, I would, 100%. However, these cigarettes are so strong that I could not buy them on a routine basis, frankly put. But they're amazing cigarettes nonetheless. The taste, there's so much depth of taste. They're so good. The roughness is a bit too much as well, but they're really nice. They're good smokes. And I would 100% most certainly buy another pack of these again. I've bought a couple packs of these over the last couple years or so, and I've enjoyed all the packs I've smoked, and I think I'm going to enjoy smoking the rest of this pack as well, to say the least. Really dang good smokes. I'd buy them again, and I think they deserve a solid 4 out of 4. That's right, y'all, a 4 out of 4. I don't give many cigarettes a 4 out of 4, but these are getting the one. And for context, my rating scale goes from 1 to 4. A 1 is like, this is terrible, never try this. 2 is like, you know, this is okay. I wouldn't buy it again personally, but, you know, it might be to some people's preferences. 3 out of 4 is like, you know, this is pretty dang good. This is pretty good stuff. You know, I'd buy this again, but, you know, there's better cigarettes than this. And a 4 out of 4 is like, oh my God, this is perfect. All I want to smoke is this. This, for me, is very much a 4 out of 4. Really, the only things that I don't like about this cigarette is just how rough they are and is just how strong they are. But, you know, every so often, not so bad. And even though most of the time when I say every so often when it comes to cigarette packs and whatnot, and when it comes to cigarette varieties, I mean like a 3 out of 4. Every so often for these, there's still a 4 out of 4. It's just kind of like, okay, these have to be a treat. They're just that good. 4 out of 4 for the American Spirit Blacks. 4 out of 4. A 4 means these are amazing. These are perfect. These are like one of the best cigarettes ever. And yeah, the American Spirit Blacks, they're solid smokes. They're really good stuff, and I enjoy them quite a bit. 4 out of 4 for the American Spirit Blacks. And I'd most certainly buy a pack of these again. And I certainly will be having to do that again, as I have been doing over the last couple of years. Well, I think that's all I had to say. This review was a bit longer than I was planning on making it, but that's just a testament to how much I enjoy the American Spirit Blacks, I do suppose. I certainly hope you guys have enjoyed watching this review. I have my Instagram, my book, my merch, my P.O. box, and my second channel, all in the description down below. Go check it all out. Of course, like, subscribe if you guys have not already. And of course, also, make sure to comment y'all's thoughts on the American Spirit Blacks in the comments down below. To the next one, y'all, stay safe and peace, and have a great one. Yes, sir, you know what I'm saying?